Namaskar. Welcome to Prakash on Basics. I am Prakash Zog. We are discussing the various aspects of Hindu marriage sanskar. For Hindus, it's a one-time, lifelong decision that is made and a commitment to be followed right to the end of one's life. There is nothing at the spur of the moment in such cases. Every step, every ritual is meticulous, meaningful, and this in fact starts even prior to the actual marriage sanskar. Today I will explain the deep thinking that went into selecting the groom or the bride naturally, the norms that were laid down in the Dharma Sutras, the Gruhya Sutras and the Smrutis are of thousands of years ago, 2000 at least, and many of these norms are still quite significant and quite valid even in the present day context. Naturally, selecting the right groom or the bride is the first logical step in this. I'll first mention the guidelines for the qualities and the selection requirements for both of them naturally. In the early ages, it involved two particular patterns. For the Brahmins, it was mostly the father or the close family relative that did the bride or the groom hunting. For even kings and many other people, and most of the others in fact, special people were requested and sent out to look for a suitable match. This was typically referred to as Var Preshana. And what do they look for? In the Rigved Mandal 3, there is a sukta for the qualities of the groom and the girl that are supposed to be looked for. I'll first mention about the groom. Naturally, in this case, the major objective was good progeny. He was expected to be in his prime. To be in the prime here is ideally a youth beyond childhood and before old age. Today scientifically we can always say as long as in his metabolism rate the anabolism is greater than the catabolism. So that is somewhere between the age of 24 to 48. The groom was eligible for marriage only after the Samavartan Sanskar that I had mentioned some time back. The Samavartan Sanskar itself was carried out by his guru, who actually knew him better than everybody else, and to the best of the ability. When the youth had completed his studies, he would undergo the Samavartan Sanskar. During this span, he was expected to have rigorously followed and accepted the Brahmacharya ashram. Such a student who was eligible for marriage was said to be Parivita, one emerging from the womb of the Guru after having gained adequate knowledge. So he was supposed to be educated. The one who is blossoming in all respects, that means a developing person. He was supposed to be Suvasah, one who is properly attired. he was supposed to be the one who was recommended by the knowledgeable people around. In addition to this, the Ashwalayan Gruhya Sutra gives the qualities expected of a groom. He is supposed to have good intelligence, good lineage, good character, good physical strength, fame, wealth, and an adequate support and backing of his relatives and friends. If you look at the norms today, don't we look for all this even today? And then when was the girl fit for marriage? She was supposed to be the one, according to the original rituals, original Dharma Sutras, one who has crossed puberty. That's around plus 14 years. She is said to be a Nava Yuvati, a fresh youthful lass, as we can call her today, and she is supposed to be all knowing, understood the way of life. She was defined in terms of a cow, the prestigious position of every family. She was like a cow fit to bear calves, but who had not yet started lactating or giving milk. She was said to be endowed or expected to be endowed with auspicious signs and characteristics. These were supposed to be external, physical ones, as well as mental abilities also. She must have intelligence, beauty, good health, and good character. Bharadwaj Gruhya Sutra says that the girl must possess in an ascending order of preference wealth, beauty, intelligence, and lineage. You can compromise for the lower ones depending upon the situation, but the higher ones are things that must be there present in the girl: intelligence and good lineage. There is another Gruhya Sutra known as the Manav Gruhya Sutra that adds knowledge as the fifth criteria for this. There was one more totally different expectation at that time, which may not be valid today. She should not be without a brother. Bhartruhina is the word that is used there, and there was a specific reason for it. At that time, it was maintaining one's lineage was or the gotra, and just the prior parents, grandparents, the forefathers, these were all known as the pind, and there were certain offerings to be made to them at various situations. The rights for this were often passed on to the male child. Now, if a person did not have a son but had only a daughter or only daughters, then at that time, at the time of the Dharma Shastras, the father of the girl had the right to take a vow from the groom that the first male child or the son of his daughter would be a representative of the girl's father's gotra, and would have all the authorities of doing pindadan, and would take up all the lineage of the girl's father. In that case, obviously, he would have to skip his rights towards his own father. This obviously was something that was not acceptable to everybody. uh, and in today's world, in fact, if you look around, you will always find that people prefer to have an only daughter, whether it is attraction for her wealth or other factors. I'll keep that aside. uh, there was one more major issue that is always talked of in Indian culture, which is the set of words that I used, the gotra, which is the family tree and the history, and the uh, immediate three forefathers, which is the pind. There are also subcategories of the gotra. Now there are certain rules as to where you could marry, and whether you could marry. It was totally impossible that you could marry with the same gotra as such. So that was out of question. But even the pravar, which is the sub part, was not acceptable. Rules for not marrying in the same bloodlines is what this really represents. As far as I had mentioned this long back, I'll just remind. From the father's side, it was minimum 7 to 10, and from the mother's side, it was 5 generations at least. Usually, these norms were followed in the early times. Today, of course, they may not be followed to the same extent. Many of them are not. Many people are not aware of them also. There is also one more custom that has come about in the last few thousand years, and that is marrying the daughter of the maternal uncle into the family, because that was a known family and so forth. That of course is not according to the accepted norms of the Dharma Shastras. As far as the age is concerned, the local customs of age at that particular region, the tribes, the people, the communities, they usually dominate on the age or the age difference that is expected out of the groom and the bride. The most important factor that was always talked of was the kula, or the lineage of the two of them. For this, when do you say that the lineage is good, or the person is from a good kula? If when the last 10 generations possess knowledge, perform penance, and have good behavior, the lineage is said to be ideal. See, there is no mention of the family being very rich or living in a good place and so forth, because those things can change. According to Manu, for good progeny, the groom must have good lineage. But in case of the girl, if she is a gem in herself, as far as the girl is concerned, the lineage aspect can be overlooked. That's what Manu says. But then he continues and says that it is better that the girl remains unmarried and with her father, rather than being married off to a groom who does not possess good qualities. See the maturity of thought even then. The great King Manu, who put forward such beautiful ideas, such valid and logical concepts. And there are people who still treat Manusmriti as something to be looked down upon. I really pity the ignorance of people who talk without having read the Manusmriti sometime or the other. There were no norms for the male person to get married under all conditions, or other however possible. But Manu says that a girl should get married at some time or the other, so that she goes to a new gotra or a new lineage. You will find then that if all these criteria are looked at from the present day point of view, they are still good enough for us to decide on how to choose a bride or the groom in the other case. If you have liked whatever I have said, please read more about this if you can. The original texts are available at so many other places. Pass on this knowledge to your friends. See whether such norms are followed by people who are around you, the families, the relatives that you have, where these norms are followed or not. And that's not the end of things that are talked of in as far as marriage sanskar is concerned. I'll go into some more details, and for that, naturally, we'll have to meet again sometime, maybe another 15 days. Till then, namaskar.